Since ancient times, sages have spoken of a mysterious gate, hidden in plain sight, yet always open to those who dare to seek it, the narrow gate of prosperity. It is not a path for crowds nor an easy shortcut, but an inner journey that requires vision, faith, and a profound transformation of the mind. Emmet Fox revealed that true abundance is not found in blind accumulation, but in harmony with the divine laws that govern the universe. That gate, though narrow, leads to an infinite flow of riches, peace, health, wisdom, and limitless provision. In this text, you will discover that prosperity is not the privilege of a few, but a spiritual right accessible to all. You will learn that every thought is a key, every emotion a step, and every act of faith a movement toward that secret entrance connecting your life to the inexhaustible source. Prepare to cross the threshold, for beyond the narrow gate lies not only prosperity, but the freedom of living in unity with the creative power of God. Before you read a single line, stop for a moment and ask yourself, who will I be when I finish this book? What will it feel like to live without fear of scarcity, without anxiety about the future, without the need to impress? What does a life guided by order, trust, and inner elegance look like? You have not picked up this book by chance. It has not come into your hands by accident. You are here because, at some level of your consciousness, you already sense that true prosperity is not found in accumulating things, but in discovering who you are in God. You are here because your soul has begun to remember, and that memory is more powerful than any course, seminar, or material inheritance. The person you will be at the end of this path is not a better version of yourself. It is not a more successful, more productive, or more celebrated you. It is your essential self, stripped of noise, purified of fear, aligned with the principle. You will be someone who no longer asks life from a place of lack, but cooperates with it from a place of certainty. Someone who is not defined by what they possess, but by what they express. Someone who does not need to prove because they embody, who does not need to hoard because they circulate, who does not need to overplan because they trust. By the end of this book, you will be someone able to sustain calm in the midst of change, able to think with clarity even when appearances seem adverse, able to choose your thoughts with the same precision with which an artist chooses their colors. You will be someone who no longer lets themselves be dragged by impulses, but acts from their center, someone who does not fear the future because they know each day carries its own provision, who does not judge the past because they have understood that every experience was part of the refinement of their consciousness. This book is not a promise of instant material wealth. It is an invitation to a radical transformation of your mind. It is a call to discover that the greatest luxury is peace, that the true treasure is mental order, and that the highest elegance is that of the soul that has remembered its source. You are not here to improve your finances. You are here to remember that you are spiritual economy in action, that you are a channel, not a container, that you are expression, not accumulation, that you are the garden, the seed, and the fruit. At the end of these pages, you will be that. You will be yourself, but in God, and nothing will ever be the same again. The narrow gate of prosperity based on the teachings of Emmet Fox. We have noticed that more than 80% of those who visit our channel are not subscribed. You can support this project by pressing the subscribe button and giving a like to the video. Thank you for inspiring us to continue creating more and better content for you. Are you ready to transform your life? Chapter 1. The Principle of Inner Elegance. All true prosperity is spiritual. It cannot begin in objects or in numbers or in banknotes. It begins and ends in the state of consciousness. That which is not cultivated within the soul can never be sustained outside of it. This is the essential secret of the indwelling Christ, which, once understood, separates the poverty of the soul from true wealth, and strips the mirage of empty luxury before the eyes of understanding. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, but store up treasures in heaven, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matthew 6:19-21. This affirmation of Jesus is not a warning against money, but an exact teaching about the principle of mental priority. Consciousness creates form, never the other way around. To place the heart in what is external is to abdicate inner power. But when the soul is rich, when the mind is ordered, when thought vibrates in harmony with principle, then abundance manifests as a natural and effortless fruit. True elegance is not a matter of fashion, furniture, or learned manners. It is a way of living the truth with coherence and without noise. It is the serenity of one who knows that God provides. It is the deep order of the mind trained to bless. It is the nobility that does not need to be displayed because it shines from silence. To understand this law, we must enter with full willingness into the inner hall of the mind. Imagine this place. It is not a room built of bricks, but of thoughts. Each wall is a conviction, each object a well-placed idea. There is no disorder, no noise, no other eyes. There only you and I are one. And in that closed chamber, you visualize your world as already realized, already complete, already present. You can now close your eyes and imagine that place. Do it not as a game, but as a discipline. Observe how everything in that room has its place. There is a table. On it, your purpose is written. There is a lamp, the light that represents your faith, and there is a window that opens to heaven, your spiritual vision. In this mental space, all wealth begins. If this hall is dark, your outer life will be filled with shadows. If it is cluttered with useless thoughts, your economy will reflect waste and confusion. But if you keep it clear, luminous, and allow only thoughts of good to enter, then life will respond with equivalent forms. This is the law of mental equivalence. Now listen carefully. You cannot manifest more than you are able to conceive in your inner hall. That is why the most urgent work is not making money, but ordering consciousness. It is not seeking things, but seeking the kingdom. What then is empty luxury? It is the accumulation of forms without content. It is the attempt to fill a spiritual void with physical objects. It is the desire to impress others because one has not yet learned to respect oneself. And the inevitable consequence is anxiety, fear of loss, the endless need for more. In contrast, the fullness of the soul is silent abundance. It does not need to be proven. It is, and therefore it flows. I have taught this for decades. I have seen people who lived in a single room and had more peace than those who lived in palaces. Why? Because their inner hall was in order. They had understood that mental order attracts material order, that true wealth is a reflection of well-directed thought, that silent gratitude is an eternal investment. And how can we cultivate that inner elegance? It begins with the scientific prayer of thanksgiving. It is not a plea, not a request. It is an affirmation that all good is already present, even if it has not yet appeared. It is a mental action that places your consciousness in harmony with the source. Give thanks for your life, for your mind, for your ability to think. Give thanks as if everything you need were already in your hands, because in truth, it is. Do it like this. Thank you, my God, because in this very moment, all that I need has already been given to me. Thank you because my soul is full, my mind is clear, and my path is secure. I have no fear, for you are my guide. I have no lack, for you are my provision. I have no doubts, for your wisdom sustains me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Repeat this prayer every day, not as an external ritual, but as an inner decision. Decide to live in gratitude. Decide to see beauty. Decide to think in order, and the universe will respond as the echo responds to the cry. One day you will see that you no longer need so many things, that what you once sought outside, you already carry within. That true elegance is knowing how to say no to waste and yes to simplicity. That trust in God is the only wealth that can never be lost, and then when you least expect it, the perfect form will come. The right house, the fitting income, the open doors, not by human effort, but by divine order. Prosperity is not a reward, it is a consequence. It is not a moral prize, it is the natural reaction of right thinking. And you can begin now. Do it. Enter your inner hall. Reorder your thoughts. Eliminate the noise. Give thanks for the invisible. Cultivate the elegance of the soul. And then you will see that you have passed through the narrow gate, but you have entered into a kingdom without limits. Chapter 2, Divine Order. The invisible architecture of wealth. The whole universe is founded on order. From the path of the stars to the form of a wildflower, from the course of the seasons to the birth of a thought. Everything that is true is also precise, exact, harmonious. Order is not an accident, it is the visible face of law. And whoever lives in order lives under the blessing of God. There is no lasting wealth where there is disorder. There cannot be, because mental chaos sooner or later expresses itself in material confusion. This is not punishment. It is result. The outer is always a mirror of the inner. Just as disorder in a room reflects indecision, fear, or fatigue, so too unnecessary expenses, repeated debts, unfinished projects, and missed opportunities are manifestations of unresolved mental chaos. Most so-called economic problems do not originate in the external economy. They have their root in misdirected thought, in scattered attention, in the absence of clear purpose. God is not absent. He is waiting for us to put the inner house in order. When thought is organized, life aligns. When the soul is disciplined, provision flows. Jesus explained this law with a clarity that allows no debate. In the parable of the talents, told in Matthew 25, a man entrusts different amounts of wealth to his servants before departing on a journey. One receives 5 talents and multiplies them. Another receives 2 and makes them grow. But one, out of fear, laziness, or disorder, buries his and returns it without increase. And what is the sentence? To the one who has, more will be given, and he will have abundance. But from the one who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. It is not injustice, it is law. The one who thinks with clarity, who plans with faith, who cares with gratitude for what he possesses, receives more, because he has shown himself aligned with divine order. But the one who squanders his attention, who doubts the law, who acts moved by fear, creates stagnation. Wealth flees from chaos. Abundance recoils from disorder, because both are daughters of principle, and principle never settles in what is murky. That is why I now invite you to practice a simple yet profound exercise. We will call it a spiritual inventory. It is not about reviewing your bank accounts, but about examining the content of your mind. Take a sheet of paper and divide it into 2 columns. In the first, write your frequent thoughts about money, work, and the future. Be honest. What do you say about yourself? What do you fear? What do you believe possible? What do you imagine yourself receiving? In the second column, write how these thoughts are reflected in your outer life. Where does your money go? What mental habits push you to buy unnecessarily? Where is there disorder, accumulation, waste, anxiety? This inventory is not to accuse you, but to show the exact relationship between thought and form. You will see, for example, that when you think there is never enough, you tend to spend impulsively. That when you feel you don't deserve, you avoid opportunities. That when you believe everything is difficult, you sabotage yourself. Every expense has its root in a belief, every sustained income as well. The good news is this: you can reorganize your consciousness. Just as a room can be cleaned, so can your mind. Just as books can be ordered on a shelf, so can your thoughts, and what was blocked begins to flow, not by magic, but by law. From today on, establish a new mental system. Apply it with consistency. These affirmations of order should be repeated every morning, every time you feel confusion, and every night before sleep. Divine order governs my life. Everything in me responds to the wisdom of God. My thoughts are aligned with the truth. My economy reflects clarity, purpose, and peace. Everything that circulates with blessing. Everything I receive comes through just channels and remains. These affirmations are not empty formulas. They are declarations of spiritual authority. They are decrees that educate the subconscious and redraw the inner structure of your world. For you were not destined for disorder. You were created to reflect the harmony of the Creator. I want you to remember this every day. Wealth is not measured by the amount of things you have, but by the degree of order you can sustain without losing peace. It does not matter how much enters. If there is no inner structure, it will be lost. But if the mind is clear, even the little multiplies. Thus the principle works. Thus God acts. A living testimony I once heard in a meeting in Manhattan illustrates this truth. A simple woman, mother of 3 children, barely surviving with the minimum, decided to apply this principle. She ordered her mind, cleansed her thoughts, blessed her money, and gave thanks for her debts as opportunities for reordering. In 6 months, her situation completely changed, not by outward miracle, but by inner transformation. She changed the pattern, the result changed. Do not wait to have more in order to create order. Create order now and the rest will come. Close this chapter with this action. Look around you. Observe your house, your table, your clothes, your papers, your wallet. Every corner reflects your mind. Do not criticize it. Do not blame yourself. Simply begin. A paper that is organized, an idea that is clarified, a debt that is blessed, an action taken consciously. Each is a sacred step toward the kingdom. For divine order is not a luxury, it is spiritual structure. It is the invisible blueprint of all abundance. It is the secret architecture of success. Affirm it, apply it, live in it. And you will see how each coin becomes a seed, each action a foundation, each day a building block of the kingdom. Chapter 3, The Narrow Gate. Conscious selection of desires. Not everything you desire comes from you. Not every impulse is a call from the soul. Many desires arise from noise, others from fear. Some disguise themselves as goals but are traces of emotional lack, and the soul, sacred and wise, does not rise with borrowed desires. It only responds to those that spring from principle. Christ said, "Strive to enter through the narrow gate, for I tell you that many will seek to enter and will not be able." Luke 13:24. This is not a threat nor a condemnation, it is a revelation. The narrow gate represents conscious choice. It is not that God made it small, it is that the human mind, dulled by stimuli, has thickened its body of desires until it cannot pass. Only those who have released the necessary baggage can enter. The most demanding spiritual work is not learning to ask, but learning to discard, to let go of what is not yours, to distinguish between the soul's genuine desire and whims inflated by culture, comparison, or emotional reaction. It is far harder to say this does not serve me than to shout, I want. Spiritual maturity begins when one renounces the accumulation of desires to embrace clarity of purpose. To enter through the narrow gate, enthusiasm alone is not enough. Discernment is required. The soul is not fulfilled by the number of achievements, but by the generosity of aspirations. You may have a list of goals, but if it contains no service, expansion of good, or inner transformation, then it is merely repeating old patterns with new names. Here emerges the most powerful tool to discern desires: daily mental silence. It is not evasive meditation, it is not unguided imagination. It is a concrete practice to stop the noise and listen to what God is already telling you, because the soul does not shout. The soul whispers. If you do not quiet yourself, you will not hear. If you do not cleanse, you will not see. Take 15 minutes each day, sit without expectations. Stop asking, stop thinking. Simply breathe and listen. At first, it may seem that nothing is happening. Then consciousness begins to speak, not in words but with certainty. What once seemed important now loses strength. What once seemed absurd now reveals its beauty. That is the inner voice. In that state, take your desires one by one. Observe them as if they were objects on a table. Ask, does this elevate me? Does this elevate others? Does this drain me or fill me? Does it come from fear or from principle? If you do not know the answer, use the symbol I have taught so many times, the golden key. The golden key is not a technique, it is a shift in focus. When you are confused, when a desire torments you, or an impulse clouds your mind, do not struggle with it. Do not analyze it. Do not try to resolve it. Simply turn your thought toward God. Repeat mentally, I release this and place my mind in God. God is order. God is wisdom. God is good. God knows what I do not know. Do this every time a desire overwhelms you. It does not matter how many times you must return to it. The golden key works because it does not argue with error. It transcends it. And in that new state of consciousness, false desire disappears and true desire is revealed. A woman once approached me at the end of one of my talks at the Hippodrome. She was crying because for years her life had centered on achieving a certain social position. She had gone into debt, ruined friendships, compromised her health, all in pursuit of a desire that, when fulfilled, left her empty. I spoke to her of silence, of the golden key, of the narrow gate. She returned months later. She did not have that position, but she had a peace she had never known. She had found a new purpose, to teach others to live with purpose, and there lay true wealth. Filtering your desires is a form of self-love. It is how you show respect for your energy, your time, your soul. No one can build a solid life with borrowed materials, and unexamined desires are just that, other people's bricks. Always ask, was this planted by the Spirit, or was it planted by advertising, comparison, nostalgia, or ego? Remember, There is no sin in having desires. God made you creative, expansive, free. But there is wisdom in choosing carefully. Not everything you can want is worth the price of your peace. Not everything you can achieve will make you more yourself. Life is not a display of goals. It is a progressive revelation of being. Each time you release a false desire, you become lighter. Each time you choose from the soul, you become stronger. Each time you pass through the narrow gate, you enter a higher level of consciousness. Make this practice a habit. Silence each day, 15 minutes to quiet all mental noise. Review desires, not to judge, but to observe from the light of the soul. Golden key in times of doubt. Turn your mind toward God until clarity arrives. With each step, you will realize that the narrow gate is not a limitation, it is a protection. It is the filter that allows only the eternal to pass. And on the other side, there is always a kingdom. Chapter 4. The Tithe of Gratitude. The human mind, when trained in scarcity, tends to see giving as a loss. It measures, limits, and withholds. It believes that if it gives, it loses. But the spiritual mind, the one awakened to the eternal Christ, knows that every act of gratitude is an open channel through which life flows. And where there is flow, there can be no stagnation. Where there is gratitude, there can be no lack. The concept of tithing has been misunderstood for centuries. It has been reduced from a spiritual principle to a monetary obligation, a fixed quota. But true tithing has nothing to do with percentage. It is a matter of consciousness. It is not about how much you give, but from where you give. It is not mathematics, it is metaphysics. To tithe is to recognize in action that everything you possess comes from God. It is to affirm through a tangible gesture that the source is spiritual, not material. It is to declare, I do not trust my salary, I do not trust my client, I do not trust external outcomes. I trust the law of good that gives itself through me. Therefore, tithing is not just about money. It is attention, time, thought, intention. It is giving consciously, blessing the channel through which your good flows, and above all, it is giving thanks before receiving. The Bible gives us a vivid and powerful image of this principle in the story of the widow of Zarephath, 1 Kings 17. In the midst of a great drought, the prophet Elijah comes to the city and asks a poor woman for a little water and bread. She responds that she only has a handful of flour and a little oil, barely enough for a final meal before dying. Elijah, in an act that seems bold, says, "Make a small cake for me first, and then for yourself and your son," and promises, "The flour shall not run out nor the oil fail, until the day the Lord sends rain upon the land." Was this selfishness? No, it was faith in the law. It was an opportunity for the widow to practice gratitude under impossible conditions. She obeyed. She shared the last she had, not as sacrifice, but as recognition that provision was not in the pantry, but in principle. And because she was faithful in giving, she was sustained without fail. Here lies the secret. Gratitude does not wait to receive in order to manifest. Gratitude that waits for results to appear is not gratitude. It is calculation. True gratitude manifests before, during, and after manifestation. That is why it is creative, why it multiplies, why it transforms a final loaf into inexhaustible provision. Those who are grateful for little prepare their consciousness to receive much. Those who complain about scarcity close the soul's gates. For the thought, "there is not enough," is a decree that life obeys without question. I now propose a concrete practice, the 40-day gratitude journal. Take a notebook exclusively for this purpose. Each day, for 40 consecutive days, write 10 reasons you are grateful. Do not repeat, do not invent, observe, discover. Give thanks for the visible and the invisible. Give thanks for what has not yet manifested. Give thanks even for challenges, for they reveal areas for growth. This exercise is not emotional, it is spiritual. Each line written is a seed. Each word of gratitude is a channel. Do not ask, do not explain, do not justify. Simply write thank you for, and let the current of good flow. Accompany this exercise with the following affirmations of creative generosity, not as empty mantras, but as a conscious decision to live under a higher law. I give joyfully because I recognize that all I have comes from God. My gratitude opens paths where once there were only walls. I bless every channel through which my good flows, and allow it to express without resistance. I do not accumulate out of fear, but circulate in faith. My provision is limitless because it comes from principle. Recite these affirmations at the start of the day or whenever thoughts of lack try to settle in. Do not fight those thoughts. Do not deny them. Simply replace them with a statement of truth. This is how you re-educate your mind, how you fertilize your inner field. And now I ask you, to whom can you give today something? A word of encouragement? Sincere attention? Concrete help? An unexpected gift? Do not wait to have more. Give from where you are with what you have. Like the widow of Zarephath. Not out of duty, but out of certainty that the source never runs dry. For the tithe of gratitude is not about institutions, it is about consciousness. It is the inner attitude of one who knows they are not alone. It is the act of trust of the awakened soul. It is the breath of love. And just as breathing consists of giving and receiving, so does wealth. The one who only takes suffocates. The one who only retains freezes. But the one who gives with gratitude and receives with joy lives in the perfect rhythm of the universe. Practice it, write it, affirm it, give thanks, and you will see how a life of gratitude returns to you, multiplied what you sowed in faith. Chapter 5. Creative silence and the powerful word. The tongue has the power to give life and to take it away. Those who love it will eat its fruit. Proverbs 6:21. Every word is a seed. Not every word germinates, because not every word has been sown in the proper soil. The proper soil is not noise, urgency, or need. The proper soil is silence. Silence, not as the absence of sound, but as an inner state where the mind ceases its agitation and the soul can act. In that invisible space, the nurtured and deliberate word becomes verbum, and the word spoken with consciousness becomes a creative act. On the surface of the mind, words come and go without direction. Phrases are repeated, clichés recited, affirmations accumulated without conviction. But in creative silence, each word is chosen, charged with intention, purified of fear, and spoken with authority. There it is no longer you who speaks, it is the Christ within you. And that is why the word becomes law. The Christian metaphysics I teach does not consist of reciting phrases as if they were magical formulas. It is not about repetition to convince the universe, but about tuning consciousness to truth, and from that tuning pronouncing the word that shapes reality. The key is not in the quantity of words, but in the generosity of the inner state from which they emerge. That is why I propose today an exercise that can transform your entire spiritual practice. 15 minutes of fertile silence. It is not empty meditation. It is not mere relaxation. It is an active disposition of consciousness to quiet all non-essential thoughts, gather scattered mental energy, and prepare the ground for verbal sowing. Do it as follows. Choose a place without interruptions and sit with a straight spine, feet grounded, hands relaxed. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply 3 times. During the first 5 minutes, simply observe the thoughts that arise. Do not fight them. Do not follow them. Just observe and let them pass as if you do not see them. The next 5 minutes, focus your attention on a single divine idea. It could be God is my source, harmony guides me, or good flows through me. Do not repeat it mechanically. Feel its truth. The final 5 minutes, maintain absolute silence. Do not think, do not affirm, just remain. This is the fertile soil where the word will take root. When you finish, do not speak immediately. Maintain that inner atmosphere as you take a sheet of paper and write a metamorphic treatment for the goal you are working on. A treatment is not a petition. It is not a description of the problem. It is a declaration of truth spoken from the soul with authority and direction. Here is an example of a treatment. Suppose you wish to manifest a financial solution. Write it, and then speak it firmly and calmly. This matter is now in God's hands. The infinite intelligence that governs the universe attends to every detail. There is no obstacle, no lack, only perfect flow of good. I am at peace. The solution already exists and manifests now in a harmonious, just, and complete way. Thank you, God, because it is already done. This treatment is not to be debated, commented on, or doubted. It is written, spoken, and then released. It is entrusted to the law, because the law does not need help. It needs direction. Who speaks from silence has power. Who speaks from fear has noise, and the world is already full of noise. What is needed is verbum. The verb is not a decorated word. It is not an inspiring phrase. It is an operative word born of unity with God. That is why the daily practice of silence is essential. Only in that space can the soul cleanse its filters and allow the word to become a pure channel of principle. Think of the great acts of creation in the Bible. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. There was no discussion, no analysis, no justification, only the verb. In the same way, you can act in your mental world. Sow with precision, declare with clarity, remain in silent certainty, and observe how the fruit manifests. Do not use the word to repeat what you do not desire. Do not use the word to reinforce fear. Every time you speak, you are building. You are building what you love, or reinforcing what you fear. Make your mouth an altar. Make your tongue a chisel. Make your voice a channel. And let every word that comes from you be bathed in silence, nourished by the Spirit, and directed with purpose. He who masters his word masters his world, and you have been called to master, not beg, to declare, not plead, to create, not wait. Practice, be silent, declare, and you will see how the word becomes flesh in every aspect of your life. Chapter 6. Multiplying Service of Invisible Incomes. The soul that serves expands. There is no more direct law, no more certain affirmation. This is not about morality, duty, or sacrifice. It is about understanding the spiritual mechanism of service as a path to multiplication. In a universe governed by the law of cause and effect, every action imbued with pure intention generates multiplied return. The good you sow, even if invisible, returns multiplied and sustained. Jesus, the perfect knower of this law, did not explain it through speeches, but through acts. In John chapter 13, he performs one of the most radical and least understood gestures of his entire ministry, washing the feet of his disciples. Rabbi, Master, the incarnate Christ, wraps a towel around his waist, takes a basin, and kneels to wash the feet of those who follow him. An act that still scandalizes today. How can the highest humble himself to the function of a servant? But it is not humiliation. It is a profound understanding that the greatest among you will be your servant, not as a strategy to gain favors, but as a direct manifestation of selfless love. Jesus did not serve to be seen. He served to reveal a law. The soul that gives without seeking recognition comes into direct contact with the source of all provision. And this law still operates today, even though few stop to observe it. There are thousands of forms of service that go unnoticed. The mother who prepares each meal with attention, the young person who silently helps elderly neighbors, the shopkeeper who patiently listens to a difficult client. None appear in newspapers, yet each is sowing invisible wealth that will germinate at the right moment. The mind conditioned by the materialistic system seeks immediate rewards. It wants recognition, gratitude, applause. But the soul awakened to the inner Christ serves for joy, not results. It gives because it can, helps because it sees, blesses because it is connected. I now invite you to incorporate a transformative discipline into your life, the weekly practice of silent help. Each week, without announcing it, without explaining, without justifying, perform a concrete act of help for another human being. It can be a letter, a thoughtfully prepared meal, an unexpected visit, a simple repair, or an anonymous donation. What matters is not the magnitude, but the vibration of the gesture. Do not share it, do not tell, do not publish. Keep silence. That silent action has a power that noisy actions will never know. In that act, your soul affirms, I do not need external recognition because my connection with the source is enough. And that affirmation, pronounced in action, is the key to new abundance. I have seen lives transformed by this principle. I remember a man who, unemployed for months, began dedicating 2 hours weekly to helping strangers in his neighborhood. He did it expecting nothing, just to contribute, stay active, and maintain his center. Within weeks, without seeking it, he received a job offer from an unexpected source. It was not coincidence, it was consequence. The law acted. Good given without expectations returned multiplied. Do you understand this? Service is an invisible seed that germinates in God's field. You do not control how or when. It is only your choice to sow. And this sowing, untainted by ego or ambition, is the most fertile. Avoid spiritual showmanship. Helping does not make you superior. Serving is not a pedestal. Guard against the desire to display your good, because the moment ego mixes in, multiplication stops. Good multiplies in silence, noise stops it. Make service an inner habit, Not a goal, not a strategy, not a resource, but a habit. As you breathe, as you walk, serve. Wherever you are, with whatever you can, to whomever appears, and let the universe handle the rest. Recite each morning before beginning your day. I'm available to serve and I'm willing to give. My help is a channel of good. What I give silently returns in abundant quiet. I do not cling to what I give, nor do I expect a response. I only trust the law. This affirmation is not merely a path, it is protection. It protects your intention, your vibration, your way. For he who serves with ego blocks himself, but he who serves from the soul is recharged, having entered the divine circuit of giving and receiving. And that circuit is inexhaustible, infinite, eternal. Practice it, be silent, serve, and you will see how your invisible wealth transforms into tangible provision, without noise, without hurry, without struggle. Chapter 7. Forgiveness and the circulation of good. Where there is resentment, there can be no flow. Where judgment is withheld, good comes to a stop, not as punishment, but by law. Just as a blocked artery prevents the free circulation of blood, the soul that holds grudges prevents the free circulation of good. Forgiveness is not a decorative virtue. It is an essential function of spiritual economy. There are those who pray for prosperity, but cultivate resentment. There are those who ask for abundance, but keep mental lists of grudges, unforgiven debts, and unlet betrayals. These people, even if they recite affirmations, are sabotaging their own circuit, because good only circulates where there is openness, and resentment is closure, blockage, a mental shutdown. Jesus, a profound knower of this law, illustrated it with a severe and precise parable. In Matthew 18, he recounts the story of the unmerciful servant. A man owed his master a vast sum. He begged for forgiveness, and his entire debt was forgiven. But that same servant, upon leaving, found someone who owed him a minimal amount. Instead of showing compassion, he demanded it harshly, imprisoned him, and judged him. When the Lord learned of it, he called him again and rebuked him. "Should you not also have had mercy on your fellow servant, as I had mercy on you?" And he handed him over to the torturers. Who are the torturers? They are not external entities, they are the consequences of unforgiven thought. When you do not forgive, you hand yourself over to the torturers of anxiety, fear, lack, and perpetual judgment. And even if you strive externally, the soul remains stagnant because the flow of life is cut off at the exact point where you decide not to release. Forgiveness, then, is not a moral act. It is an economic act. Each time you forgive, you open an invisible gate through which good can circulate again. Each time you hold on to a grievance, you close that same gate, no matter how much you affirm prosperity. I now propose a technique I have taught many with remarkable results. I call it the fire letter. It is a ritual of release, not symbolic, but effective. Do it calmly, with intention, without interruptions. Take a sheet of paper and handwrite the name of the person with whom you still have an emotional knot. It may be recent or old. It could be a family member, a boss, a friend, or a past love. Do not judge. Just allow your soul to show you whom you still need to release. Begin the letter with this phrase: I completely forgive you, I release you, and I release myself. Write everything you feel, without censorship, without rationalizing. Write what hurt, what you expected, what you didn't say. This is not about sending the letter. It is about emptying the burden. End with these words: Now I hand this relationship to God. I am grateful for what I have learned. Good flows again. Burn the letter. Observe the fire as a symbol of transmutation. As it burns, silently affirm, I am free. They are free. Good flows. Repeating this act whenever you detect emotional stagnation restores flow. The soul needs expression, and the subconscious obeys symbols. The fire letter is not magic. It is mental liberation in action. Accompany this ritual with a daily practice, the meditation of flow. Sit in silence and visualize a river of light descending from above and flowing through your body, mind, relationships, finances, and surroundings. Observe where the river stops, where there is judgment. Direct your attention there not to analyze but to release. Breathe and affirm, I forgive, I release. Good flows through me without obstruction. Do this every night before sleeping. It is the best nightly treatment you can give yourself because, while you sleep, your subconscious works. And if you program it with forgiveness, it will clear the soul's pathways. I want you to understand clearly, there is no sustained prosperity without true forgiveness. You may have income, but not wealth. You may have possessions, but not peace. Only the soul that has deeply forgiven can receive deeply, and this includes forgiving yourself. Many harbor hidden guilt that sabotages all manifestation. Forgive yourself, not out of weakness, but out of clarity. Now say aloud firmly, I forgive myself, I release myself, I no longer condemn myself. I am grateful for all I have lived, and I allow good to circulate. Write it, feel it. Forgiveness is a spiritual decision, a hygiene of the soul, an act of intelligence. It is not forgetting, it is no longer holding on. It is allowing God to flow through you again, and when flow returns, life itself is unlocked. Relationships heal, opportunities reappear, income multiplies, all because the invisible obstruction has been removed. Forgive, release, open the channels, and let the good that has always been waiting flow freely once again. Chapter 8. Visioning with humility, imagination guided by law. There is no creation without a prior image. Everything visible was first invisible. Everything that manifests in the physical world was first conceived on the mental plane. Thought is not a vague desire or a fleeting idea. It is a generative force that acts according to clear, consistent, and faith-filled images. Within this creative law, imagination is the brush with which we paint our future reality. However, if imagination is not guided by law, it degenerates into fantasy. If it is confused with personal ambition, it produces anxiety rather than harmony. If it is charged with attachment to outcome, it blocks manifestation. Therefore, it is urgent and essential to learn to vision with humility, to form clear images without chaining oneself to the form of fulfillment. The prophet Habakkuk received this direct instruction. Write the vision, make it plain on tablets so he may run who reads it. Though the vision tarries, wait for it. It will surely come, it will not delay. Habakkuk 2:2-3. This is a spiritual law disguised as prophetic advice. Write the vision, declare it, wait for it. Do not cling, do not force it. Let it act. The first step, then, is to understand the difference between vision and ambition. Ambition arises from the wounded ego. It is the desire to prove something to the world, to fill inner voids, to conquer out of fear. Vision, in contrast, arises from an aligned soul. It does not seek to prove, but to realize. It does not demand, but proposes. It does not attempt to manipulate law, but to collaborate with it. True vision is not an imposition on the universe. It is communion with it. And that communion is only possible when the mind is emptied of urgency and filled with direction, when the visionary knows how to release the form and trust in the essence. For vision to have power, it must be clear, precise, and internally coherent. You cannot visualize prosperity while fearing rejection for having money. You cannot visualize a harmonious relationship while harboring judgment toward love. The mental image must be free of internal interference. That is why it is so important to practice from a state of mental humility. Humility does not mean passivity. It is not resignation. It is the awareness that you are not the source, but the channel. It is acknowledging that the wisdom guiding you knows better paths than your mind can foresee. It is declaring each day, Lord, this is my vision, but let your perfect design unfold. And then allowing the final form, the concrete expression, to manifest according to law. I now propose a dual practice that synchronizes the power of image with the law of detachment. The first tool is external, the second internal. Both are complementary and powerful. Minimalist vision board. This is not about filling a poster with photos of cars, houses, or smiling faces. That practice, without discernment, can generate anxiety rather than faith. The vision board I propose is selective. Choose a single image for each essential area of your life: health, love, service, provision, growth. Let the image represent vibration more than form. Do not cut out mansions. Cut out symbols of abundance. Do not cut out jewelry. Cut out symbols of value. Place these images on a discrete sheet in a private location, and each time you see them, do not ask. Affirm the invisible reality already manifesting. 3-minute inner movie. Every morning before starting the day and every night before sleeping, close your eyes and project a brief movie in your mind. not more than 3 minutes. In it, visualize yourself being, not achieving. That is, do not imagine receiving the check, but being the person who lives in trust. Do not see yourself signing contracts, but walking with certainty and peace. The image should generate serene emotion, not euphoria. It should awaken certainty, not urgency. When finished, silently say thank you, for this is already a reality on the spiritual plane. Repeat this practice for 40 days. Do not alter the images. Do not change the symbols. Let them consolidate. Law requires coherence to act, and always remember, you are not training to manipulate results, but to align your consciousness with God's perfect design for you. This is the difference between imagining and visioning. One seeks to make life obey, the other prepares to obey the good. A woman once told me that for years she imagined marrying a specific man. She placed his photo on her board, prayed for him, wrote his name. Nothing happened. When she released that image and simply visualized a relationship filled with respect, joy, and shared faith, someone completely different, but infinitely better, appeared. The vision had been correct. The form was limited. Only when she let go of attachment could law act. This is how it works, how it flows, how it is fulfilled. Visioning with humility is an art. It is creating without demanding. It is imagining without imposing. It is trusting more in the wisdom of principle than in the whims of the human mind. Do it. Create your image, affirm your vision, release the form. Practice your inner movie and watch how the images your soul sees today appear in your life tomorrow. Chapter 9. Discipline of Thought, Pruning the Useless. Every mind is a garden. Whether you know it or not, whether you care for it or not, it is always active, always sowing, always growing something. The only difference is whether what grows there has been chosen consciously or has been sown through neglect, habit, or fear. Thought is fertile soil. It does not argue with the seed. Everything that is thought germinates. What is watered with attention flourishes. What is neglected becomes overgrown with weeds. That is why the Master said, "Every branch that bears fruit he prunes so that it may bear more fruit." John 15:2. This is a law of spiritual gardening. Even what is good, if not pruned, becomes disordered. Even correct thoughts, if not focused, dilute, and much more so useless, superficial, or negative thoughts, if not eliminated, occupy the space meant for the essential. An undisciplined mind fills with weeds. Weeds do not need an invitation. They only need a moment of neglect, a complaining thought, an unchecked criticism, a comparison sneaking through the window of envy, or a fear disguised as foresight. When you do not intervene consciously, the useless grows, the essential suffocates, and your outer life reflects this with mathematical precision. There can be no inner elegance without mental clarity. There can be no sustained prosperity where thoughts contradict each other. There can be no peace where thought has not been directed. Mental discipline is not rigidity, it is alignment. Just as a gardener prunes the excess so that the important receives more sap, you must learn to prune ideas, beliefs, and mental habits that do not serve you, even if they have become comfortable or familiar. I propose a concrete tool, the thought replacement table. This table is an instrument of loving vigilance. Divide a sheet into 2 columns. In the left column, note every negative or useless thought that arises during the day. Do not judge yourself, just record it. In the right column, write its affirmative replacement based on truth. Be precise, not general. Examples: I don't have enough. God is my source and His provision is infinite. I'm always behind. I'm in divine order and everything happens in its perfect time. No one values me. I am a unique expression of good and the world responds to my inner value. This simple act of observation and correction is the soul's pruning. General affirmations are not enough. Pruning requires decision, and every time you correct a thought, you withdraw energy from the useless and redirect it toward the fruitful. To accompany this practice, I offer a technique that has transformed lives on every level. Stop, replace, bless. This is a 3-step method you can apply the moment a wrong thought arises. Stop. As soon as you detect a thought of fear, judgment, or scarcity, mentally say aloud, not with force but with firmness. Break the inertia of the erroneous thought. Replace, do not remain in the void. Immediately introduce a truth-based affirmation. Make it simple, clear, and aligned with your spiritual purpose. Elevate the corrected thought with a silent blessing. Direct this blessing toward yourself, others, or the situation involved. This activates spiritual flow. Example, if you think, "This will never change," stop, say it aloud. Then replace it with, "Everything is changing now under the law of good." And bless. I bless this process. I trust its perfect unfolding. Make this a discipline. Do not do it only when you remember. Practice it as a gardener prunes a rose every morning. Not in haste, not with guilt, but with love, respecting the design of your inner garden. What you cultivate inside will eventually become your external landscape. Understand that the discipline of thought is not forced mental effort. It is conscious spiritual art. It is not about thinking positively all the time. It is about thinking truthfully, recognizing the sprouts of fear and replacing them with the certainty of principle. It is a gymnasium for the soul, and like any discipline, it strengthens with practice. Do not fear if at first you find your mind full of weeds. Simply seeing them is already the beginning of healing. You do not need to eliminate all dead branches at once. Start with one. Replace a thought, stop a reaction, correct a phrase, and each act of pruning will become space available for flourishing. Affirm to yourself each morning, "My mind is a garden, I choose its seeds. I water the essential. I remove the unnecessary. Good flourishes in me, and my life reflects its order." Do it without pressure. Do it with consistency, and you will see how what today seems confusion will tomorrow become ordered beauty. Chapter 10. The Daily Ritual of Serene Abundance. True prosperity is not accumulation. It is not a goal achieved. It is not an event. It is a state of the soul sustained over time. And this state is only built when thought is disciplined, desire is purified, the word is ordered, and the soul learns to live from certainty, not urgency. This certainty must be renewed each day like the morning light. That is why real abundance requires a daily ritual, not as an empty habit, but as a living practice that integrates all the principles learned on this path. The human soul needs structure, meaningful repetition, sacred moments that do not depend on external circumstances. What I offer today is not a new formula, but an integration of everything you already know, transformed into a morning and evening routine you can perform wherever you are, with whatever you have, regardless of external events. It is your space, your moment, your invisible altar on which interior elegance is built. Morning routine. Activating the day in consciousness. Step 1. Initial silence, 3 minutes. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, breathe, do not think, do not affirm yet. Simply listen to the silent depth where God dwells. Step 2. Metaphysical recitation of Psalm 23. Do not read it as lament or poetry. Read it as law, as spiritual reality. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. Everything I need is already provided, for He guides every part of my life. He makes me rest in green pastures. He renews my mind and calms my anxiety. He leads me beside still waters. Peace accompanies me, trust sustains me. He restores my strength. Every cell, every thought, every emotion is harmonized. He guides me on paths of righteousness. Today, I act in order. I decide in wisdom. Even if I walk through dark valleys, I fear no evil. The light is with me. Good protects me. Your presence guides me. You prepare my table. My provision is full. My cup overflows. Your goodness and mercy follow me every day, and I dwell in the eternal abundance of God. Step 3. Faith visualization, 3 minutes. Project your day as already harmonized. Do not visualize specific events. Visualize states, serenity, clarity, purpose. Feel yourself living the day already blessed. Step 4. Brief gratitude inventory. 3 items. Write 3 things you are grateful for. Do not repeat. Do not explain. Simply write thank you 3 times. This is the initial circulation of good. Step 5. Daily affirmation. Choose a phrase summarizing your state. For example, today I walk in inner elegance and absolute certainty. My provision reflects my serene consciousness. Everything flows in order because God guides my thought. With this, your day begins in a position of creation, not reaction. You start at the top, not at the bottom. This changes the course of every decision you make. Evening routine, closing the day with light. Step 1, gratitude review, 5 items. Note 5 things you received, learned, experienced, or understood today. Even if the day was difficult, something was given. Find it. Step 2, silent mental fire letter. Recall anything that disturbed or upset you. Do not retain it. Mentally say, I forgive myself. I release this thought and give it to God. Visualize it dissolving. Do not bring it to the next day. Step 3. Golden key, 3 minutes. Apply the golden key with complete surrender. Take any concern that tries to remain and say silently, I will not think about this anymore. I place my mind in God. God is order. God is peace. God is present now. Thank you, for it is already resolved. Step 4. Final blessing. Bless your body for supporting you, your mind for learning, your soul for advancing. Say softly or internally, I rest in the peace of the principle. All is well. Everything is in its place. More light tomorrow. Make these routines a sacred consistency, not out of obligation or superstition, but by design. A mind trained to live in truth generates a vibratory field that attracts only what aligns with good. Remember, abundance is not luck, it is a habit. Serenity is not a reward, it is cultivation. Inner elegance is not genetic, it is a decision sustained day by day until it becomes your natural state. Epilogue. Prosperity as a perpetual state of consciousness. There is nothing to add because everything is already within you. There is nothing to seek outside because everything essential has been sown within. Throughout these pages, you have not received a set of techniques or a system to obtain things. You have been guided with precision, patience, and truth toward higher understanding. Prosperity is not attained, it is revealed. It is not pursued, it is embodied. It is not forced, it is allowed. This book does not aim to give you a recipe, it aims to awaken you from living conditioned by external appearance, by fluctuating market rules or worldly success schemes, to awaken you to remember that God is your only source, and that source is alive, active, and available within every well-directed thought. You have learned that true wealth is inner elegance, not ostentation, that mental order is the architecture of provision, that fruitful silence produces fertile words, that quiet service activates multiplication, that forgiveness is not an emotional gesture, but a profound reconfiguration of the soul, that principle-guided vision bears fruit in its time, that the discipline of thought is loving pruning, and that each day can begin and end in communion with the infinite. Now you know, money is not the cause of abundance. It is one of its many effects. Prestige is not the purpose. It is at best a shadow. Applause is not the path. It is sometimes a distraction. The true goal is to live in harmony with the eternal Christ, and from there allow life to flow, guide, provide, and inspire. No one can walk this path for you. No one can decree in your place. No one can practice your silence, your gratitude, your discipline. But the principle is with you. Good does not withdraw. The law does not sleep. Every thought is a seed, every word a decree, every internal act a silent command to the universe. So now more than ever, choose consciously. Choose your thoughts. Choose your desires. Choose what you bless. And each day upon awakening, remember, I am not alone. The Spirit of God lives in me. I do not fear. Divine order governs my path, and I do not beg. The source sustains me in abundance. I do not compare. Life expresses itself uniquely through me. I do not accumulate, and I circulate good with joy. I do not struggle, and I cooperate with the law. I embody the elegance of the soul. I do not wait, I already am. And if fear whispers, doubt returns, or scarcity knocks at your mind, answer with a single key, the one that opens every lock, transcends all appearances, and always works. I place my mind in God. God is order, God is provision, God is peace, God is present now. Thank you, for it is already done. This is the beginning of your new life. Sustain it, expand it, share it, and let every step, every glance, every gesture be a living expression of serene abundance. Amen.